Okay, this is Sheets, and I'm going to try to do another horse racing video. It's kind of difficult because if I was going to do who do I like for the day type thing, so much of horse racing depends on knowing what the odds are literally right up until post time. So it's very difficult to actually make recommendations. I could make guesses as to what the odds of some of these horses are going to be, um, but it's really more important to be able to see those odds as they actually come up. Imagine in DFS, for example, if you know you played some guy thinking he's going to be 50% owned, and then it turns out he was five or something, or vice versa. So it is very difficult as far as content goes to give picks out beforehand. Um, with that said, I think I can at least do something productive. So I'm going to be trying this out again, different formats. So you have a Fonner Park card today, which is really one of the only two tracks they're running, the other being Will Rogers, Fonner Park in Nebraska. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the races and kind of just see the way I look at it. And there are some morning line odds and some early odds that are out already. But once again, you are going to need to, I'm going to say ignore this, but you're going to need to put your own spin on the odds changes. So let's look at this first race, for example. These are maidens, 7 horses, and these are just really just, I don't want to say they're bad horses, but they're very inconsistent. They're from Nebraska. They're not very fast, and they're not very good. But they're all not very good. So that's the beautiful thing about the sheets is you can just kind of just compare numbers to numbers, and it could just doesn't really matter whether you're wagering on Fonner Racetrack or Belmont or maidens here or huge stakes races. So it doesn't make a difference. So you look at these and you'll see already that one horse is looking to be at 1 to 2. And let's just take a look at some of these. So again, we're comparing. We want to get the lowest number possible. So see that Prince B is running he has a 39, which is just really bad. But even look relative to some of these others, like J Train, 29, 229s, which makes him about 10 lanes better than the other one. So J Train is clearly the contender to start off with. And then there's Mr. Big Shot, who's pretty much exactly the same as JJ Train at 29. Leon's Diamond, I guess, would be the next one for so far, but even this horse is just much slower than the others. You can make an argument that that's kind of moving in the right direction. It ran an awful 54 last year, then a 37, then it made a new top of 33, then an off race, and it could go forward, but unless it was really super long, I wouldn't use it. And this horse, Mr. Mon, again, just not fast enough at all. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses, but you'll notice that there were 7 in the field. So there are a couple of first-time starters here. And first-time starters are very, very tricky. What you really need to do is have an idea of what type of numbers win these races anyway, so that whether a first-time starter has a chance against this type of field. But for openers, what we're going to do for the purpose of this discussion is just basically toss out all the first-time starters. So what you're dealing with is, what did we say? JJ Train, Mr. Big Shot. Were those the only two? We'll go back to them again. So JJ Train and Mr. Big Shot were the only 2 real contenders. So the way I would look at it is I put these guys as about the exact same chance to win. So if these odds went off the way they are, one being 1 to 2 and the other being 4 to 1, that's basically the public saying that Mr. Big Shot is 8 times more likely to win than JJ Train, which is simply not the case. It provides an incredibly big overlay, especially with 2 relative to the 4. Okay. So, you have to just follow the odds and see what's going on and just realize that these 2 are very equal. So if these odds hold, this is going to be certainly a good bet relative to Mr. Big Shot. Now, is JJ Train a good bet at 4 to 1 relative to the rest of the field too? I think it is. Again, none of those horses were even close. They didn't really provide any hope that they were going to go forward at all. So I would just have gone ahead and just say that if these were the odds, that JJ Train would be pretty much a lock bet. Now, is it a lock to win? No, I think it's got about a 50-50 chance alongside with Mr. Big Shot. And as such, you just have to see the odds. So and that's the way I would look at this first race. You go ahead to the second race here. Again, nice little 8-horse field, so it allows us to analyze a little bit better. Let's just take a look at this really quickly. So again, I like to do this before I look at the odds here. So More Than Stature has a 20. It's got an 18 within the last couple of months, so that's kind of the baseline for this race. Let's see if anybody's going to beat an 18 or a 20. So far, nobody. So far, nobody. So far, nobody. 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 Right here, it looks as though that first horse is just kind of a lock. Haven't even looked at the odds yet. So let's, again, but before I go look at the odds, let's look at some of these other contenders, see who maybe the second best. Red Majesty, 24 and 25. Mac Dragon, these 24s and 25s, but it was a full year ago. So I figure that's probably similar to that other horse. Maybe mid-20s, but pretty awful. I guess this would be the next one, Unnameable Streaks. It does have a 23. So I guess Unnameable Street, and then there's Young Boy. I guess Unnameable Street would be the next option, but this More Than Stature, whoa. Is More Than Stature, that was the one that was that laid over the field? Yeah, so this happens sometimes. Now, again, you have to be able to watch and see what these odds go off, because I find it difficult to believe that in the end, More Than Stature is not going to go off the favorite, just because you'd like to think that other people are looking at what I'm looking at in a way, but I don't think that Fonner Park is kind of flush with sheet players. So maybe it's possible you just get a really legitimate overlay here. So you got to remember to mark this. More Than Stature is actually looks to be a very, very strong play here. If it's remotely close to 8-1. I mean, I honestly would have thought this horse, when I first looked through the sheets, would have been 3-5 or even money. I really think it's got about a full 50-50 chance to win. And 8-1 is just kind of a joke. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the actual odds. Third race, another maiden race, maiden fillies, which provides a little more variance to it as well. Oh my God, there's an 8-year-old maiden. All right, well, let's just take a look and see what we can get from the third race over at Fonner. All right, so we have Gabby V, off a year layoff, not looking so good, 27s. All right, this is Horse Ebony Knights again, pretty much very similar. But so far, those two are the best, because see River Wild with a 36. Oh my God, what a terrible race. Lane Peach with those mid-20s. All right, so this looks to be, this next horse with Data Link, looks to be the best horse so far, because you'll see that it ran kind of 31s and 30s last year. It came back, it broke through, ran a 24, came back to the 24 in an off race. This is a really nice pattern, and it's very prone to run well. This is definitely the best horse so far. Now, this horse, Alicia's Valentine's, got a 23, but then 3 really, really bad races. I'll include it in my player pool, so to speak. So if it's really, really long, I'll use it. But this Wits Data Link so far looks to be the best horse for this race. Get Up and Go, not so hot. South Carolina, not so hot. So this one's good too. So Scotia Queen was running much worse last year, and then it took almost a year off, and then it came right back with a 23, which is a very, very good number for this field. And then it had an off race. So I think Scotia Queen is definitely just as a contender, just like that other horse. And that's it. So it's Scotia Queen. I would say Scotia Queen and Wits Data Link would be the 2 most likely winners. Now we go back and see. So Scotia Queen 6-1 and Wits Data Link 5-2. So Wits Data Link is definitely looking like the morning line favorite, which makes sense. It definitely, I think, is the most likely winner. Although I'm not so sure about that. I think the 10 is just as, is, I don't say just as good, but really, really close. So again, if you give me these 2 odds like this one being at 5-2 and this one being at 6-1, I definitely think that Scotia Queen is almost as likely to win as Wits Data Link. So if you really do get this 5-2 versus 6-1, I think Scotia Queen is the one you want to put on top. Now these other guys, again, all these other 20 horses with those 26s or whatever, they look kind of crappy. I mean, none of them are that long. Alicia's Valentine, that was that other one, that wild card I said that has a chance, it's really long. So if this is 12 to 1, maybe I'll use it in exactas or trifectas or something. Maybe this horse to win 15 to 1, maybe I would use it. But these two horses are definitely the two best, with State of Link and South Carolina. All right, so fourth race, 10-horse field. Again, we don't like to look at the odds first. Let's just go into the sheets first. All right, Bronco Dave. We don't look what these other horses look like. This is an 8-year-old coming off a year layoff where it ran a 36 in the mud. Could go forward off of that mud race. So, you know, if you only need like a 25 to win and it's as long, I'll certainly consider it. This is another horse off a year layoff, another one with a 24 or so. This one's a little bit better. Spa Chakalaka got this 12 last year, knocked it out pretty much. The horse is basically finished. Although it ran a 12 before, caused an off race. So this horse is okay. So this horse is fine, I suppose. Well-mannered, has some good numbers last year, and I don't know, it has got 47, which is obviously just an X race, and then maybe coming back. Pretty awful race in general. In Control, all right, this is fine. It's got a 23 and a 21, then kind of regressing a little bit. It's a 9-year-old. These are just some awful horses, but I guess In Control so far would be my favorite if I had to pick one, which I don't. Then there's this guy, Proud Italian. Now these two races, you remember if I mentioned this to you before, when you see the little equal sign next to them, that means it was on the turf. So this race isn't on the turf, so that's obviously it means that, you know, these races are not to be expected. But even this 21's fine. So maybe Proud Italian's okay. This one's another ugliness, another ugliness. All right, so before we look at the odds, let's take a look again. So Proud Italian's fine. In Control, I guess. So Proud Italian, In Control, and Sir Chakalaka. Let's take a look at the odds. So Proud Italian, In Control, Spy Chakalaka. Okay, so what we see is that of these three kind of fishy horses that are probably the best of bad alternatives, Spy Chakalaka is almost a favorite, or he is the favorite. So I would probably not use that. But In Control and Proud Italian, they're both two of the longest shots in the race. One of them is 12 to 1, and the other one is 8 to 1. So again, now presuming that these odds kind of hold, these could be good values. So just because they're kind of crappy doesn't mean you can't bet them. They do have good relative value over these other horses. So I would say In Control and Proud Italian would be the place to go. Okay, so about halfway through the card. Let's go to the fifth race. And again, let's not look at the odds yet. All right, we're gonna look at Shepherd's Pride, 29, off race 25. This is, if you're a horse player, you'll know this gives you a headache to see these kind of fields, but just get used to it. This one's got better numbers, got 21 and 22. It's off about 6 months. So take that into consideration. Country Club Diner, 24. This one's okay. Russell Cave with a 20. Then a couple of off races. So this is kind of a solid horse. So I'd say Russell Cave so far would be the best. Then there's Hot Item, which is, you know, another one off 6-7 months. I guess it's fine. Lonesome Highway, I guess, is okay. Coming forward to get a 22. You look through all these are all really bad. So I couldn't even come up with a favorite here. Maybe this one, Cowboy Don. So this is definitely a pass type of race. So the fifth race, like if you wanted to, you know, play exotics, like pick doubles and pick threes or something, you could do one of two things. You could either just go all, because they're all pretty similarly awful, or if you were this kind of player, you would just take the longest shots in the race because they're all really bad. So any course they make a favorite here is probably a pretty bad favorite. So Russell Cave, 12 to 1. We did mention it, so maybe it's okay. But this is definitely not a race to take a big stand on. All right, so race 6, 9-horse field. Let's take a look. So you have Dixie Delta running 29s. Okay, let's see if we can do better than that. True Allegiance about the same. Anawar with a 27's got a 23, 22 last year. It's okay, I guess. This is another one, Miss Ellie's Girl with a 29 to 30. Stalker, 28, 29, 30. Toka Girl, 27. Not much of a difference. So all these horses, I'm a Danger, 26, 25. Lingering Sally is fine. I mean, it's got a 22. It's definitely the fastest, but it could certainly have an off race. All right, Red Real Dominator is bad, so we don't have to use that. So let's go back and see before we go to the odds again. What do we see here? We have Lingering Sally with his 22 is pretty appealing. So I'm a Danger, solid enough. Toka Girl's a little worse. Anybody else? Maybe it's Anawara again. So I would say Anawara, because it's got these numbers to go back to, 22, 23, 2016. Anawara, maybe I'm a Danger, and Lingering Sally. So let's take a look. So Lingering Sally, it's 6-1. I'm a Danger, 8-1. Anawara's favorite, 3-1. So we don't need that. So I would use the 7 and the 8. Now again, these are not great horses, but again, I think these are two. I think these are the two best. If you force me to come up with the two best horses, it would actually be Anawara and these two. Like you see Stalker, for example, and add a Toka Girl. These are two horses that are rating to go off lower prices than the 7 and the 8. And I think the 7 and the 8 are just much better actually than the 5 and the 6. So you do have some good relative value there. So I think I'm a Danger and Lingering Sally with slight edge going to Lingering Sally. All right, so 7th race, 10-horse field. Let's take a look. So you have Magic Cowboy, 28 to 33. Trask is not bad. Trask, I mean, he's got these 22s and 18s last year, but he's off a layoff. See if anybody's more consistent. But Trask so far. All right, so this is a little better. Hidden Gun has this faster 15s and 18s and a 20. It just has that one off race in the mud. So I think that Hidden Gun and Trask would be the two favorites so far. Fat Tire off a 6-month layoff. Decent middling numbers, 23s, 21s. No good. There's another one off a layoff, Diesel's Pride with these 19s and 20s. Door Cheap Zarb had these same kind of numbers. It really hasn't come back yet and run anything good. That's a Green Card with the 20s. So Green Card, he has the 220s this year. So at least you know that he's back to being consistent. He's coming off a win. You see this W? Now, I actually do think that horses coming off the wins are inherent bad value in a way, because people just look at that and think it means something. It really doesn't mean anything when you win. You're just running a certain speed. And that win might not be good enough to beat today's field. So that's the thing you have to remember about sheets. Like these 220s are exactly the same. It doesn't matter if horse won or not. So Green Card with a pair of 20s. Then you have all these layoff horses, right? Diesel. So it's Tristan, Diesel, maybe Fat Tire, Hidden Gun, Trask. So if any of those horses are really long, but those that's who I would key in on. But so it's Trask, Hidden Gun, Fat Tire, Diesel, and the Green Card. So let's just take a look and see. Green Card 5-2, nothing special. Diesel's Pride 10-1. Fat Tire 12-1, Trask 6-1. So once again, even though I thought Green Card was slightly the best, 5-2 just not going to be good enough. So for me, it's going to be probably something like, what do we say, Diesel's Pride and Tristan's Dream? Let's take a look at those again. Green Card, at 5-2 is just not going to do it for me. So Diesel's Pride. Diesel's Pride, probably my favorite. Then Hidden Gun. Then Trask. So it'd be 6, then 2, 3. But I think 6 would probably be my favorite of those layoff horses for sure. And maybe a 10-1, it's probably where I'd want to go. So it'd be Diesel's Pride, Fat Tire, Hidden Gun, Trask. And I don't think I would want Green Card to be at 5-2. Now, again, if you're going to play like daily doubles and pick threes and things like that, and you really like something in, say, the sixth race, like let's say you really like Lingering Sally, and he was going off like 15-1, and you had she was going 15-1, and you wanted to bet daily doubles, and it was really long in the doubles. You could give Creed and Card a break and, say, okay, maybe it's not the best value in the world, but combined with hooking it up with the Lingering Sally in the previous race, the combination of those two makes for a good daily double bet, for example. Okay, so 2 more races here. Another 10-horse field. Take a look. Look at the odds the horses first. One pretty thing. Just a couple of mud races, kind of a wild card. Two lifetime races at 7 is not usually very good, but so Pretty Rich with the 25. So this is what we're going to get, right? All these horses with 25s. Billy May cannot run the 25. It'd be nice if someone did better than this, but I've seen these races before. All these horses with these 25s. All right, so this is the one that's going to be the favorite, right? Because this has the 21, and it's coming off a win. Let's just see what the odds are, though. This is another one, Global Exchange with a 21, and that was a win also. So Global Exchange and Dan Burritt, and then everybody else. So Global Exchange, Dan Burritt, and everybody else. So, right. So you have both these horses, and this is a good example. They both have the same thing. They both have these 21s with the win, and one of them is going off 8-1, or allegedly, and the other one could be going off at 5-2. So, between these two, you have to take Dan Burritt. But the other thing I would mention is that it's not a lot that either of these two win, because, just because they ran a 21 before doesn't mean they're going to run it again. Now, what's good, Global Exchange had a 17 on the turf, a 17 on the turf. Look at its overall body of work here, and that 21, as opposed to Dan Burritt, who's got a 32 and a 21. I actually like this Dan Burritt a little bit better, just because it is, I guess, lightly raced, I suppose. But I'm just saying that neither of these two kind of have to win. Like, there's no reason why this Live Large can't win. And there's no reason why these horses like Chick's Done, who's a little bit slower maybe, 25s and so, it could certainly go forward and run a 21 and run a 23. And these other horses that just ran that 21 could go backwards. So it's not as if those horses are locks here. So, like, if Chick's Done, for example, is going off really long, or Pretty Rich, for example, let's take a look at those. Chick's Done's only 4-1. Okay, so it's not like we're getting anything major. So I would say that, given these particular odds, I would say Dan Burritt is probably the way you'd want to go here, because, definitely one of the two fastest horses, and it's 8-1. So, but again, I'm continuing to go on with this. You have to just check these prices as they go up. All right, and finally, in the last race, get 11 horses. No, 3 horses here, 10 horses here. Take a look through. So you have Junkers, 22 and a 25, kind of anything with a 22. So Ducati with a 16, this is certainly the best so far, because it's got these 16s, it's got another 16, and then it had kind of 2 off races. So it could go ahead and go forward and get a 16. So I think that's definitely the most likely winner for now. Let's see if anybody else can rate to get a 16 here. I'm going to doubt it. Let's see. 16. Mr. Red Sensation, maybe an 18 if he's in a good mood. This Choir Director with a 16 and a 15 last year might be coming back around to that. So that's a possibility. So Choir Director is another contender. This one looks very consistent. This Pierpont. See, it's got 19s and 18s that just broke through with a 16. And then there's Run Around Dancing. Is that what it is? So it's got a couple of 18s there. So you have a couple of contenders here. You have Run Around Dancing. You have Pierpont, Choir Director, and the Ducati. So let's take a look and see what the odds are going to be. So Run Around Dancing, 5-2, no big deal. Pierpont, that thing could be the nuts. Wow, Ducati at 10-1. Choir Director at 5-1. So you have these three horses are so long relative to their chances of winning. So you have Ducati, Choir Director, Pierpont, and Run Around Dancing's fine, but these are really, really strong values here. I mean, all three of these. I mean, let's look at this one more time. Okay, so we're looking for horses that can get like these 16s or 18s, right? So Junkers cannot. This horse, kind of anything, no biggie. The Ducati's definitely possible. You just have to have the vision to see past these last two races. I mean, remember, these things are not machines. They're going to have off races, but in general, horse is fine. Mr. Red Sensation is actually kind of crappy. I wouldn't say kind of crappy, but it's fine. Choir Director, again, is fine. This Pierpont is very strong. Run Around Dancing's okay, but at that price. So this is definitely something you want to bet on. So Mr. Sensation, Ducati, Choir Director, Pierpont, you want to box all four of these guys? Like this kind of anything, and this Junkers are just awful. You know what I mean? That's enough value to, you know what I mean? These two plus this one, for example, Big Hard Factor, like all these guys just run out. I mean, you could do some damage here this race. So I think all five of these horses, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, all have shots. I think the 8's price is no big deal, though. I think the 6 is very strong, 3 and 6. So if you have it up, if you're up to it and you want to stick around for this last race, this is this might be something you could make some money with. So again, I can't get into like all the different ways you could bet. I mean, you could bet to win, you could bet to exactas, you could bet trifectas. I mean, whatever it is. So for starters, if you were going to bet, I would say stick with win. You can play exactas, trifectas, doubles. I would not bet place. I would not bet show for a lot of reasons. But that's it. So I guess that's the summary of the Fonner Park preview for tonight. Anybody's interested in playing it, I'm sure you can go make an account somewhere. I don't have any affiliate deals with anybody like ExpressBet or whatchamacallit, or what are some of the others? Twin Spires, FanDuel, TVG. I mean, you can open an account anywhere. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should get an affiliate deal with ExpressBet. That can be next. So if anybody's interested, I'll throw it up there, and that's it.